Hello everybody, I am back for We Read Books, and as you can see, I am here to make my favorite authors video, and there's my cat. You haven't seen him yet. He's sleeping. But just like Holly, my books are all over my bed. Thought I'd share that with you. And now, I'm going to talk about my favorite books and authors. So, this is probably going to take a while, so I'm just going to briefly state my favorite books, and not really talk about them, and then I'll talk about my favorite authors. So my favorite books are The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. I read that in like 7th grade, and I really enjoyed that book. That one really got me into reading. And then another one that got me into reading was The Call of the Wild by Jack London. And that was really great. I love that book. Then, To Kill a Mockingbird, I read that in high school, and that's one of the only books that I really loved in high school. And then I also liked The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, which I reviewed for this channel. And then the final book that is one of my favorites is Hamlet by William Shakespeare. It's a little, I guess it's a little strange to have a play as your favorite book, but I love that play. I can't really understand it. I mean, I don't really like tragedies, but that one was just so good. I loved it. And I had such a great time, not reading it, but after I read it, I went over it in my mind, and I was like, wow, that was a great play. I love Shakespeare now, but, you know, in freshman year I didn't really like it. So those are my top 5 favorite books, and now I'm going to talk about my top 5 favorite authors. The first one is an author that I've only read one book of, and I know it's kind of hard to say that he's my favorite author from one book, but Stephen King is one of my favorite authors, and this is the only book I've read of his, Salem's Lot, and this is about vampires. It's like a retelling of Dracula in modern time, sort of, in a way, and I really enjoyed this book. I love the way he writes, and a couple other books that I have of his are, I have a ton of his books actually, but this is what I'm reading, The Stand. Well, I was reading it, but I stopped. As you can see, it's incredibly beat up, and I just went out today and I got a new copy, so it's nicer, you know, it's not very beat up, and this is the movie cover, so that's really cool. So now I have 2 copies of that, and then the other book I'm reading, is It by Stephen King. And this is one of my favorites as well, even though I haven't really finished it, but I love it so far. And I have a ton of his other books, Carrie, Pet Sematary, The Shining, Misery, Firestarter, a ton of his books, I can't even name them all. But he's one of my favorite authors. I love the way he describes things, and the way he uses the horror isn't like gory horror. It's more psychological, and it lets your imagination take its toll when you're reading. I love that. The next favorite author of mine is Anne Rice. And the only book I've read of hers, another one I've only read one of, is The Vampire Lestat. This is book 2 in the Vampire Chronicles. And I'm also, I know I'm reading a lot of books, but I'm reading The Queen of the Damned, which is the 3rd book. I love this series. It's such a great author. I love her descriptions and the way she kind of puts in philosophy and religion into her books. They can get a bit preachy at times, but not too bad. They're really good. I like them. And then I also have Christ the Lord out of Egypt. And I'm not a very religious person, but I do believe in God. And this one is kind of a fictional story of Jesus' life. And it's like telling him the life when he was a kid. So I thought that was really interesting. And I didn't think I'd like it that much, but I do actually like this book. And yeah, she's one of my favorite authors. I need to read more of her stuff. I have a lot of her books as well, but I need to read them. Then, the book I'm reading right now is Guardians of the West, and David Eddings is one of my favorite authors, as you know, because I reviewed the Belgariad series, and he's written a lot of other books. So many books, sorry. He wrote, this is his first novel, High Hunt, and I need to read this, but this is about people who hunt humans. Vaguely, that's a vague description. And this is The Losers, and this is kind of a battle between good and evil, and it's a really good book, I hear. My friend really loves this author. And then Regina's Song, and this is a thriller about 2 twins, and I can't really describe too much about it because I haven't read it. Then another author of mine that I love is Sarah Pinborough, and I have 5 of her books. And the first book I read of hers was Breeding Ground. Pretty creepy cover, right? This is about alien spiders. It's really, really bizarre sci-fi horror, but I really, really love this book. The sequel to that is Feeding Ground, and I haven't read this yet, but I really plan on doing it soon. And these are other books, kind of supernatural horror novels. The Taken is about a ghost story. This is also kind of a ghost story, The Reckoning. I really, really enjoy this one. And then Tower Hill, it's kind of hard to explain, and it would kind of ruin the book if I tried to explain it, so I'm not really going to explain it too much. But it's a good book. It wasn't my favorite, though. Not my favorite. But they're still a great author. She's a British author, and I love her. She's one of my favorite authors. And then the last author. Wow, it didn't take as long as I thought. Ellen Hopkins. Ellen Hopkins writes her novels in verse, and I've read Glass and Crank, as well as Impulse, which is this book. And that's verse. It's written in verse. I already said that like 3 times. Sorry. But it's not like poetry. It's just kind of in that form, and I really like that. I mean, even though it's really, really thick, you can read this in like 2 days, and it's really, really good. She's I met her, actually, and got her books signed, as you can see. So I really, really enjoy this author. She's a really nice person, and her story is kind of heartbreaking because her daughter got addicted to drugs, and she wrote about it with Crank and Glass, which I'm getting if I can. Sorry, this is really awkward. But yeah, there they are. And these are good. I really like this. And the 3rd book's coming out soon. So that's good. September, I think. And I made it. I did it. So those are my favorite books and authors. I hope you guys enjoyed. I have a lot of other favorite books, but that's my top 5. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope if you've read any of these authors, and you want to, give suggestions on other authors, or maybe, talk about books that I've read or something, please leave a comment, and that'll be really great. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next review.